So one thing I wanted to get into um, going forward is formalizing the sort management or certificate management we do. So specifically, um, there's a handful of certificates that NVIDIA manages right now. Um, like I know that off the top of my head, there's like the RGPU front end certificate, um, and like Grafana has one and all. And I think what we're
Just,
going, huh?
I was going to say, just to be clear, you're talking specifically about TLS certificates, right? And only that kind.
Yeah, I should have specified that. Yeah,
Okay.
TLS certificates.
Yeah,
Um,
I figured as much. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
so, so I know like we have those ones. There's just a couple things I was thinking maybe going forward because there's something at the end of this, doing some general certificate management and stuff, some downstream stuff we want to do. But it would start with something like this, where I wanted to at least start tracking the certificates that we manage. So I wanted to get together some sort of list of what certificates we have. But I don't know the whole list. And this is more not for internal ones either. I know we have like our ones for like our own endpoints, but those aren't a big deal. We can just remake those, and they don't have to have anything special right now. But the idea is we want to be able to track these, and then to be able to check certain things about them, like um, most notably is basically the expiration date, or more specifically than that, is actually how close to it. I think the end goal of what we're sort of going for is being able to keep track of all the certificates that we have and then raise some sort of health warnings when they're close to expiring. That's sort of where I want to go, but in order to do that, we have to sort of, I think, we can't just be like, all right, let me check if I have a Grafana, I don't know, spec that has like a cert in it somewhere or something like that. I think we should try to have them in more of a structure where we can just go through. We like know these are the ones we have to look at um, here, and they're in some special spots that we keep them, and then in some logic to check the certificates within X time from expiring. Um, so that would sort of require we'd have to go through and find all of what these are. I only put two here. I assume there's more that I'm not thinking of right now. And having some sort of logic for this, for checking like expiration date or maybe some other thing if we have to. I don't know what else we would check besides expiring, really. Um, but stuff like that. So it's sort of like a half-baked idea right now, but I decided I'd bring it up in here. If anyone had any thoughts on this right now, or how we could maybe do something like that.
So where are they stored? Are they another thing in the Mon store currently?
Right now, I think all certificates we manage are, well, the Grafana one is currently just a config key source, and the RGW front end one is just part of the RGW spec. And
Okay,
those
so the
are
actual
totally,
text, the text form is embedded inside the spec.
yes.
Okay.
So it's just one big string variable. So I said like, we have these in like a bunch of different spots, and there's no,
Hmm.
one way of handling them. They're just forever right now.
Well, I hate to say it, but I was half joking to you in the office the other day about reinventing Kubernetes secrets, but just this makes me think once again it would be something, some more general way to manage secure or security related things, um, whether that's internally inside of a on store like a reference that you then say, oh, I've stored this locally. I'm sorry, I'm mixing what I'm saying. Saying something like inside the spec, oh, refer to this blob inside of a monstore or some other blob. Um, in the future, you could add other mechanisms.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so what I wanted to sort of do with it is, I was still going to just use the mod key store because we consider that secure, I guess, so far.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
then
I'm
just
not saying you need to reinvent the wheel and add something new. It's just my point was for these kind of tokens, it might make sense to split them out of the cert. I'm sorry, outside of the spec, and say when you're storing something, whether it's an SSH key or a security related thing, like have its own spec to maybe ingest it, but put it in a special location within the mon store. Again, it probably helps when I say I want to do it like Kubernetes secret, if you know what Kubernetes secrets do. So if you need me to explain more, let me know.
and I haven't worked with them before. Like I got
Yeah.
you sent it to me once. I had the general idea, but I don't know it super well.
Yeah, the nice thing about it is it becomes a generic mechanism to say, oh, I've got these somewhat sensitive things that I want added to my containers, um, but you might also want to handle them in a specific way. And by default, Kubernetes doesn't do anything spectacular with them either. They base64 the data just to obscure it. It's only when you start adding other things like Vault to the mix where the secret behaves differently. But that's my point. You have some sort of mechanism for handling security related things. And then even you might even have a subtype that says like this is a cert or this is a TLS cert, and then you could have a background thread or whatever that goes through and hooks them.
Okay, I get the general idea of what you said down. It's like, say, for example, we have passwords as well, are one
Yep.
thing. Um,
Yep.
like, say, for the registry login password, we have a config, then the config key store, we have an entry for that as well. Um, but maybe what you're saying makes sense. Maybe they should actually just have like a, I don't know, security entry or something. Um, I'm not sure what we'd call it, but it's just like we have all of our secure stuff in one spot in the config key store, just so they're well tracked.
Right.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. And then in the future, if someone does come along and say, well, I really want you to support Vault or something, we could say, okay, well, we have the mechanism or we have the scaffolding for putting the secret data somewhere else. Um, then it becomes just a matter of like coding up those other pathways.
I get the idea. Um, that makes sense to me. Yeah, we can do that. I mean, I don't know how on an individual base by base basis, how or case by case basis, how easy it would be for certain things. Like I know, like for example, we moved the password for registry login to the config key store originally. It required a migration.
Yeah,
So we probably do something like that as well for all of these ones.
right. Yeah, dealing with
Um,
the backwards compatibility will be a thing, obviously. Yeah,
yeah, but maybe we can at least start moving some of the easier ones there. Like so, the reason I brought up the certificates is because there's something that we might universally want to do with certificates, like say like checking if they've been expired.
right.
But because they're just in such random locations right now, and we have no sort of way to track where they all are, they would trying to find them all to do those checks, and
Yep,
would be hard. I mean, it'd be hard to like show information about what we're checking or anything either to the user because they're just everywhere.
right. So if we had a generic secret thing, you could then have like a subtype which says like TLS cert, and then you could iterate over all of the secrets with the subtype TLS cert and, you know, analyze them or something, do a report, whatever.
Yeah, and then we just need a to change the logic that uses them right now. So there's not too many of these right now. So there's only two off the top of my head. I'm sure there's at least one more. But we
Yeah.
just have to change that logic to access this secret store somewhere instead of pulling something out of the spec or something like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea of having just like one secret store. I guess it would be sort of equivalent to like we have like the host cache or okay. Yeah, that could work. I guess yeah, in that case it would just be a matter of we'd have to round up what all the certificates are. That figure that out. Did I said I only know these two. And then just have to move them around a little bit. But idea wise, high level wise, I like this idea of just having like a secret store because it seems like it's something that might come up again in the future. Like you're saying, if we want to do some sort of vault integration or whatever,
Yeah.
we would have that available to us. We know all the things that are sensitive that we're storing. It would formalize that a little bit instead of them just being
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, and then like you say, you have subtypes for here's a password, or here is a SSH key, or here is a OAuth blah blah blah, a Kerberos key tab, whatever. You can do stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
I can't see all the. Oh, Redo, was that you? You just joined.
yes.
Okay. So we were talking about certificate management. I know you just came up earlier when I talked to you earlier today.
Yeah.
But we were sort of what we're sort of thinking is to have some sort of the way we have like a host cache and a like spec store and stuff like for storing all of those things. Have some sort of secret store that's for all security related things, and then changing the code in the other parts that uses those things that used to be wherever. Like say for example, I have here like the RGB front end SSL cert was just randomly in the RW spec. The Grafana cert is just a config key store entry. We could take those things and put them all in the secret store and then modify the other code to use the secret store. And that way we will formalize the location for all the certificates and keys and whatever, in case we ever want to like have some other way of handling them than the config key store where they currently end up in the end.
Sounds really good. And what security? How are we going to handle security in this case? As far as I know, the non-config store somehow is encrypted. Is that right? Or
I don't know exactly how the config key store works actually. I just know that as far as Ceph has been concerned so far, we've considered things that we put in there to be secure. Like if you have to have like admin access to the cluster in order to get those. And so as far as like within Ceph, if you want to store something securely, this is as good as we sort of have, unless we had some sort of integration with some other thing. Which is actually something that, again, this would sort of allow in the future if we wanted to. If we had them all in one spot like this, it would be easier to just say, like, here's the information that's important, that's secret. We have some other place to put it, we can now put it there. But first, we have to collect it all in the one spot, regardless.
yeah, it's a good first step at least to have everything in the same. But then later we can start on install whatever secure base. Sounds good.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think there's a lot of positives there doing that.
Yeah.
I think there's anything else to even say about it. It sounds like we sort of already know what we want to do. There's a lot of work and little details to go over, but I'm not going to come up with any of that here. I'm not sure. What was that?
Maybe like right now we are already storing the certificates in different places. So basically, we have to be careful for migrations and this kind of stuff if we move them around. Just to be
Yeah, we would
careful.
probably need some migration. There's probably some one big migration that handles like secret store. Basically, once that's implemented, there'll be a migration that like all these places where things used to be able to go. We'll have to check if they're there and then put them into this new secret
It's a
store.
new place. Yes.
Yeah. So I imagine it'll be done as one big migration step. Um, like I don't know, just like secret store migration thing. I don't know. This will be like new migration 7 to 8 or whatever we're on at this point.
Yep.
That definitely would have to happen. But I'm hoping that at least now there's not too many of them I can think of. At least we explicitly try to manage. Like I said, there's this RW front end SSL certificate. There's the Grafana cert, and I know we have like say like our SSH keys we store, and uh, the registry login password or any various. We have a few passwords I think that are handy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these specs also have passwords in them as well.
Yeah. And probably if we're going to change this, then maybe the new API we can make it like we can get the certificate from some third-party server. Then internally we don't have to care where this certificate is coming from. Like we have some new model like certificate manager, and then we just ask this manager give me the certificate for Grafana, and they don't care if the certificate is stored locally in some server or wherever. Just be transparent internally for Ceph.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going for with this part of the end here. This one
Awesome.
is that we could integrate with something else easier if we have them all in one spot. Because we know exactly all the information we need to put in that secret space, and then they just have to give us. We'd have to integrate with something that has that capabilities, and we could put it there. It's a lot. It would be a lot easier than right now, where again you'd have to like find all the different things.
Yeah, manually go and see what's the name of the key. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually makes adding custom containers even easier because you just, again, I keep harping on this, but follow the Kubernetes model and just say, take the data from this secret and plonk it into this path before you start the container. And that way it doesn't matter. You don't care what the thing on the inside looks like. You just say, oh, well, it expects, this cert file in this location. You're good to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so there's a lot of upsides. So I think maybe sort of an agreement that this is a good thing to do. This was the point of bringing it up. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else on that topic.
So is this is triggered by a downstream bug?
Yeah, not a bug.
It's an RFE.
Yeah,
Okay.
RFE to integrate. I can explain more about it later. I'm not.
Well, we got to
really
get
on
an upstream tracker for this. That's my question. Do we have an upstream handle for it?
Yeah, we will eventually. Yeah.
Okay.
I can talk more about the downstream, I guess, stuff that we have to do later. But yeah, this is a first step. This is also just generally good on top of just the specific stuff we need to fix. That for the RFE is also just good in general, I think. Outside of that.
Regardless of having the third-party server, the whole idea is a good idea.
Yeah, so we'll do that, and then we'll get more into the other stuff. Because the ARP is going to involve some sort of certificate rotation steps with certain servers. But again, I think in order to do that, we want to first have this sort of thing done, where we know all certificates that we're managing, and it's very explicit. We don't have a whole mess going on. I'll just start here, and I was going to bring up that topic when at the time to get to that topic. Yeah, I think that's all I have on this. I think if there's any other topics. Anyone else have any topics they want to bring up from here?
When designing, just if you want to add a note, when designing this, we have to keep in mind that sometimes certificates are per node, not per daemon.
Yeah, I mean the config key store can be basically. I imagine what we're going to do is
Yeah.
we're going to end up putting a big JSON structure in there that can have like a bunch of various keys. So it's almost sort of going to be like a little mini config key store inside the config key store because that's also how the config key store works. It's like a key value thing.
Yeah.
But we just want it in one
Sounds
spot so
nice.
that SephADM can manage it a bit easier. So when we do that, we can call them whatever we want, and so we can totally have like one for each host or something. Like say we want like Grafana dot host one certificate, whatever we want to call it.
Exactly,
We can do
because we
that.
have a lot of requests, especially from OpenStack team, to have this kind of capabilities because at some point somebody needs it.
Yeah, I mean we already have the multiple or the per host Grafana certificates done, right? That's already a thing. It's just that
That's
right now
yeah,
they're their own entry in the config key store.
but very custom for Grafana. Yeah,
Yeah. So we have it there, but again, in order to avoid having a million config key store entries and having a big mess,
for
we can
generic.
do if we have this, then we can very quickly look at all the things we have stored.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Yeah. Does anyone have any other topics for you? I don't think I have anything else this week. This was the main thing I think I was looking at in terms of high level topics.
Nothing from my side.
All right. I mean, in that case, we could just end it here. Get our like 35 minutes back. If anyone else has anything. Right, yeah. So yeah, in that case, I guess this is a good conversation about at least the TLS certs. I'll probably create a tracker for this stuff. I guess something about creating this secret store. And yeah, we'll end here. So coming. I'll see you guys all next week.
Thank you guys.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
Thanks.
Bye.